When we moved into Maple Grove, it looked like paradise. Perfect lawns, picket fences, and friendly neighbors waving like extras from a commercial. It didn't take long to realize we'd stepped into a suburban monarchy ruled by the Homeowners Association, the HOA. Their president, Karen, was a 40-something woman with a permanent scowl and a clipboard she probably slept with. She wore pastel sweaters, pearls, and authority-like armor. On our third day, she knocked on our door. "Welcome. I noticed your garden gnome," she said with a tight smile. "That's not permitted under Section 12, Paragraph 3. I blinked. "You're kidding, right?" She wasn't. The next day we received an official letter marked violation. Unapproved lawn ornament. Emily laughed, thinking it was a prank. "We'll frame it," she said. But I saw something in her eyes, a flicker of irritation. That gnome, whom we'd named Fred, became our symbol of defiance. We placed him proudly in the middle of the yard, facing the street like a silent warrior. That's when the real trouble began. Karen started circling our house like a hawk, jotting notes. Emily whispered, "She's looking for something new to fine us for." I didn't believe it then. I do now. Because within days, the War of Maple Grove officially began. And trust me, Karen fired the first shot. 2 weeks later, another violation arrived in a crisp white envelope. "Your grass hue does not meet HOA standards for visual consistency." I reread the sentence twice, convinced it was a joke. Apparently, our lawn was too yellow-green. I had no idea lawns could have a personality disorder. Emily laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. What's next, grading our trees on attitude? But later that afternoon, we caught Karen standing at the edge of our driveway, holding paint swatches. She was literally color-matching our grass. Emily stepped out with her phone. "Are you inspecting our yard again?" Karen sniffed, defensive. "We strive for neighborhood harmony. By measuring chlorophyll?" Emily replied sweetly. Karen scowled. "It lowers property value." That night, Emily started a folder on her laptop labeled Evidence. Karen versus Reality. Inside went every letter, every timestamp, and every photo. The next morning, another notice appeared. "Failure to comply will result in a fine. $50. Emily taped it to the fridge under the word Exhibit A. "This," she said, "isn't about grass anymore. This is about control." I thought she was overreacting. Then Karen brought her measuring tape to our backyard fence without permission. That's when I realized my wife wasn't overreacting. She was preparing for war. Saturday morning, I caught Karen halfway through our gate like she was sneaking into Area 51. Clipboard in hand, camera phone ready. "Oh, I was just inspecting your fence for rust," she chirped. "You can't be here," I said firmly. "This is private property." Her smile didn't falter. "All property is subject to visual review under community compliance." Emily stepped out, calm as ever, holding her phone. "This inspection wasn't approved in writing," she said. Karen blinked. "I don't need approval. I'm the HOA president." Emily hit record. "Then you won't mind confirming that on camera?" Karen froze, color draining. "You're being uncooperative," she stammered. Emily smiled politely. "And you're trespassing." Karen backed away, muttering about neighborhood unity. 10 minutes later, an email pinged our inbox. Reminder: cooperation encouraged for smooth relations. We both laughed. That night, Emily printed the HOA bylaws and spread them across the dining table like an investigator at a crime scene. "Look here," she said, highlighting Section 8. "Any inspection requires written notice and consent." She looked up, eyes sharp. She's breaking her own rules. That was the moment the balance shifted. We weren't just victims of HOA tyranny anymore. We were detectives uncovering its crimes. And Karen? She just handed us our first piece of evidence. By Monday, everyone in Maple Grove knew we'd confronted Karen. The HOA rumor mill worked faster than Wi-Fi. Mrs. Dobbins from across the street whispered, "Be careful, dear. Karen keeps lists." I believed her. 2 more letters arrived. Mailbox noncompliance and improper nighttime illumination. Translation: our porch light was too bright. Emily began drafting her replies like a lawyer. "Per Section 4.3b, she wrote, "visual access requires resident consent." I watched her type, each keystroke fueled by quiet fury. Karen's SUV crawled past our house twice that day. The second time, Emily waved, the kind of polite wave that says, "Try me." That night, she emailed a formal complaint to the state HOA oversight office. Apparently, Karen wasn't just enforcing fake rules. She wasn't filing half her reports properly. "She's violating 3 regulations," Emily said, grinning. "Guess who's being reviewed now?" For the first time, I saw Karen rattled. She showed up at our door, pretending everything was fine. "We value community," she said tightly. "We should resolve this peacefully." Emily smiled. "We're just following protocol, Karen." After she left, Emily whispered, "You know what this is, right?" I nodded. "A chess match." And for the first time I realized my wife didn't just play defense, she planned checkmate. 3 fines arrived in 1 week: unauthorized bird feeder, unregistered mailbox flower, and my favorite, trash bin visible for more than 8 minutes. Each fine included blurry photos clearly taken from behind our bushes. Emily checked timestamps. "She's stalking us," she muttered. I scheduled a meeting. Karen showed up wearing a blazer like she was chairing the United Nations of Petty. "We need to discuss these false violations," I began. She flipped her clipboard confidently. "Everything is documented." Emily leaned forward. "So is this." She played the video of Karen entering our property unannounced. Karen's face twisted faster than fresh laundry. "That's taken out of context," she snapped. Emily smiled. "The context is trespassing." Gasps filled the room. The other board members whispered. Karen slammed her papers shut and stormed out. Afterward, 2 neighbors quietly thanked us. "She's been doing this for years," one said. Emily organized our growing case file into sections labeled evidence, violations, and hypocrisy. The pattern was clear. Karen used fines to control everyone. We had proof, and for once, the Queen of Maple Grove was cornered. We just didn't know yet how desperate she'd get to keep her throne. A week later, a new letter arrived, bold and dramatic. Final warning. Apparently, our ongoing defiance threatened community harmony. Emily read it aloud, unimpressed. "Are they going to exile us to the non-compliant zone?" But when we found a bright orange tag on our mailbox reading "Pending Property Review," my patience snapped. Karen's SUV parked across the street, engine idling, her eyes locked on our home. Emily opened her laptop like a soldier preparing for battle. She created a massive digital folder titled Operation Maple Grove Justice. Inside went every screenshot, rulebook, and timestamp. She even diagrammed Karen's own violations: unauthorized yard art, failure to post inspection schedules, and using HOA funds for personal beautification projects. Emily's previous career in law enforcement showed. "She's not careful," she said calmly. "People like this think rules apply to everyone but them." Late that night, she emailed our entire case to the state HOA commission. I asked, "What now?" Emily smiled faintly. "Now we wait." The next morning, Karen's car was gone, replaced by a stack of fresh violation letters taped to our door. But this time, Emily didn't even flinch. "She's scared," she said. "And scared people make mistakes." 2 days later, we received an email from the state HOA Regulatory Division. It said, "Thank you for your submission. A compliance audit has been opened for Maple Grove Estates." I nearly spit out my coffee. Emily smirked. "She's getting audited." It was poetic justice. Karen's behavior changed overnight. Suddenly, she was so friendly. She even waved one morning, though it looked physically painful. Neighbors started whispering that something was happening. Apparently, the state investigators had shown up asking questions. Karen held an emergency HOA meeting, trying to look calm while her voice cracked. "There's been a misunderstanding," she said. Emily and I sat quietly in the back. When Karen claimed we'd fabricated videos, Emily raised her hand. "Would you like to see timestamps?" The room went silent. Karen's face went from pink to tomato. "You're trying to destroy community spirit," she shouted. "No," Emily replied evenly. "We're saving it." Afterward, neighbors gathered around us, murmuring thanks. Turns out several had been fined for nonsense too. Unauthorized wind chimes, non-compliant mulch, overly festive holiday decor. Karen's empire of control was cracking, and everyone could see it. That night, Emily poured wine and grinned. We don't even have to fight anymore, she said. She's doing it herself. Karen's panic made her reckless. A few days after the audit began, we caught her trying to tape another inspection notice to our door at 6 a.m. Emily opened it mid-stick. "Good morning," she said pleasantly. Karen jumped. "Just performing my duties." "Unannounced inspections are prohibited," Emily replied. Section 8.2. Karen crossed her arms. "I'm allowed to ensure compliance." "Not before sunrise," Emily shot back. "And certainly not without consent." Karen glared. "I could fine you for obstruction." Emily stepped closer, her tone cool. "You could also stop digging your own grave." Karen stormed off, muttering about disrespectful residents. Later that day we found out she'd emailed the neighborhood, claiming we were harassing the HOA. Half the community ignored her. The other half forwarded us her messages, disgusted. That night, Emily drafted a polite but devastating email to the board, quoting every bylaw Karen had violated. She ended with, "Transparency benefits all residents." Within hours, board members began replying, cautiously distancing themselves from Karen. One even wrote, "We've noticed irregularities too." The walls were closing in and Karen knew it. Still, she doubled down, threatening to temporarily suspend our HOA privileges. Emily chuckled. Suspension from what? Overpriced newsletters. Karen's reign was collapsing, and she didn't even realize it yet. Just when we thought she'd calmed down, Karen escalated again. I came home to find her photographing our mailbox, from 2 inches away. "Can I help you?" I asked. She jumped. "Mailboxes must remain standardized," she snapped. "Yours appears irregular." It was literally the same model as everyone else's. Emily joined me, filming. "You're documenting our mailbox now?" Karen hesitated, clutching her clipboard. "HOA duty. Do your duties include harassment?" Emily asked, voice steady. "Because I'm documenting this too." Karen sputtered. "You're being hostile." "No," Emily replied. "We're being thorough." Later that evening, a new letter arrived. Failure to maintain uniform mail receptacle, $75 fine. Emily laughed so hard she cried. This woman's self-destruction is performance art. She added the fine to our evidence file under Exhibit J. Then she turned serious. She's baiting us. She wants us to react emotionally, so she can claim harassment. So we didn't react. Instead, Emily emailed the state investigators the new footage. Within hours they responded. Incident noted. Please retain all evidence. The next morning Karen's car was gone, replaced by a black sedan with government plates parked near the HOA office. I didn't know who they were, but I did know one thing. Karma had finally found our street. By now, half the HOA board had turned on Karen. Whispers floated across the neighborhood. She's being investigated. She misused funds. She doctored violation photos. It was glorious. The next HOA meeting was packed. More people than I'd ever seen attend. Karen strutted in, trying to maintain control. "Welcome, residents," she said, voice trembling. "Let's begin by addressing false allegations." Emily leaned forward. "You mean your violations?" Karen's glare could melt steel. "Mrs. Carter, please refrain from interrupting." Emily ignored her. According to Section 9.1, board members must disclose personal property improvements. "You built an unapproved backyard gazebo, didn't you?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen froze. That's irrelevant." Emily smiled sweetly. "It's illegal under your own bylaws." Murmurs grew louder. Another board member raised his hand. She also reimbursed herself for landscaping services, without receipts. Karen's voice cracked. "Those were legitimate expenses." The treasurer frowned. "Then where's the paperwork?" The meeting descended into chaos. Karen tried to shout everyone down, but the board voted mid-meeting, 5-1, to suspend her authority pending the audit. Emily sat back satisfied. "Checkmate," she whispered. And for the first time in months, Karen had no clipboard, no power, and no clue what was coming next. You'd think losing her position would stop her. You'd be wrong. 3 days later at 7:30 a.m., Karen walked straight into our yard without knocking. I was watering plants when I saw her rounding the corner like a ghost of bureaucracy. "What are you doing?" I asked. I'm retrieving HOA property, she said, gesturing toward a notice taped to our wall, one she'd put up illegally weeks ago. That's evidence, I said firmly. Leave it. She ignored me and reached for it anyway. Then the door opened. Emily stepped out, coffee in hand, wearing her weekend hoodie, the one that said SWAT training unit. Karen froze. Emily calmly held up her badge. You're trespassing, she said, and interfering with an ongoing investigation. Karen's face drained of color. You can't threaten me. Not a threat, Emily said evenly. A fact. I stood there, barely containing my grin as Karen backed away, mumbling something about calling her lawyer. Emily just sipped her coffee. I suggest you do. When she left, I asked, You think that'll stop her? Emily smirked. It won't have to. She's already sunk. And just like that, the woman who ruled our neighborhood with a clipboard met her match and lost. The following week, the HOA held a formal hearing to review Karen's conduct. It was supposed to be confidential, but nearly the whole neighborhood showed up anyway. The tension was electric. Karen sat at the head of the table, pale but defiant. These accusations are unfounded, she insisted. I was enforcing the bylaws. The state compliance officer, a calm man in a gray suit, adjusted his glasses. We've reviewed 37 violations you issued without cause. He slid a folder forward, including fines for non-existent offenses, one for a non-regulation garden hose. Karen blinked rapidly. That's an oversight. Emily leaned forward. You fined a widow for having too many pumpkins. The officer nodded. And you diverted HOA funds to pay for private lawn services. Karen sputtered. That's a smear campaign. The officer raised a hand. Mrs. Wilkins, please refrain. The audit findings are final. Gasps rippled. Karen's eyes darted around, searching for an ally, but every board member looked away. The officer closed his file. Effective immediately, you are removed from the HOA board and barred from future community leadership roles. Silence. Then a slow clap began in the back, from the very neighbor she'd fined for wind chimes. Soon the whole room joined in. Karen stood, trembling, clutching her purse like a shield. You'll regret this, she hissed. But everyone knew she was finished. The morning after Karen's removal felt different. Peaceful. The air even smelled lighter. Neighbors waved again. Kids played outside without her glare looming from across the street. A new interim president, Mrs. Langley, knocked on our door that afternoon. I wanted to thank you, she said sincerely. You and Emily helped clean up something long overdue. Emily smiled modestly. We just wanted fairness. Mrs. Langley nodded. We'll be refunding every unfair fine she issued. That evening, as we walked our dog, neighbors stopped us to share stories. Karen's bizarre 6 a.m. weed inspections, her threats over holiday lights, her endless gossip chain. It's like she enjoyed making people miserable, one said. Emily shrugged. Power attracts the wrong kind of people. A few houses down, Karen's property sat dark. She's listing it, someone whispered. Apparently, she'd already received notice that the state intended to pursue formal penalties. The irony wasn't lost on me. For months she'd preached community integrity, yet she'd violated every rule in the book. As we reached home, Emily turned to me and said, You realize we just survived a suburban dictatorship? I laughed. And overthrew it. We clinked glasses that night. Not in victory but in relief. For the first time in ages, our home finally felt like ours again. Just when we thought it was over, Karen reappeared. One afternoon, a moving truck pulled up outside her house. She wasn't moving out, she was moving back in. Emily spotted her through the blinds. You've got to be kidding me. Karen stepped out in oversized sunglasses, trying to look unbothered. Within minutes, she was barking orders at the movers. I sighed. Didn't the HOA ban her from leadership? Yes, Emily said. But she can still own property. That evening, she strutted across the lawn. You think you won, she said coldly. You embarrassed me. Emily met her gaze. You embarrassed yourself. Karen sneered. Enjoy it while it lasts. I'll find another way. Before Emily could reply, a white SUV rolled up. State investigators again. One stepped out, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Wilkins? Karen froze. We're here about the restitution hearing. Her face turned ghost white. This is harassment. This is accountability, the agent replied. Emily whispered to me. Timing's perfect. Karen stormed inside, slamming her door. The agent shrugged and left a notice taped to her mailbox, poetic, considering her obsession with ours. Emily smiled. Some people never learn. I nodded. But consequences always do. Over the next few weeks, Maple Grove Estates transformed. Without Karen's tyranny, the neighborhood blossomed. People painted fences, hosted BBQs, even started a small community book club. No fines, no threats, just neighbors being neighbors again. Emily joined the new safety committee, helping implement balanced, transparent policies. Imagine that, I joked, rules that make sense. She grinned. Revolutionary concept. One evening we sat on the porch watching the sunset. The faint laughter of kids echoed down the street. Feels good, doesn't it? Emily asked softly. It does, I said. You handled it better than anyone could have. She sipped her tea, eyes thoughtful. I didn't do it to win. I did it to stop someone who thought power meant control. That line stuck with me. The story wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries, justice, and standing firm. Karen's house eventually went up for sale, for real this time. A kind young couple moved in. On their first day they waved and said, We heard about the SWAT badge story. Emily laughed. Welcome to the neighborhood. Months later, life settled into something resembling normal. The HOA was fair again, the neighborhood lively, and Karen? Rumor had it she'd moved to another town, one with no HOA. I sometimes wondered if she ever realized what went wrong. One evening, while cleaning up after dinner, I found Emily's badge sitting on the counter. You ever think that day scared her more than the audit? I asked. Emily smiled faintly. Maybe. But it wasn't the badge that did it. It was the reminder that she wasn't untouchable. She paused, then added, Some people mistake authority for immunity. I nodded. And you taught her otherwise. She chuckled. I didn't teach her. Life did. Outside, porch lights flickered on across Maple Grove, glowing like small victories. Emily leaned against me. Peace feels strange after all that chaos, she said. Good strange. Yeah, I said softly. Good strange. As we sat there, the wind rustled the trees, quiet, calm, and finally free of clipboard clicks.